Hi, everyone. We love adventure travel here at LE Travel Group. And over the next 20 minutes, we're going to learn how to access some of the most rugged, remote, and unique locations in the world. With me, we have our friend and partner, Chris Hanna from Quark Expeditions. And our goal over the next 20 minutes is to learn about polar expeditions and explore some of our favorite itineraries from Antarctica, Spitsbergen, and Greenland. Please use the comment fields in Facebook and YouTube to post your questions or comments. With that said, Chris, thanks for joining us. Let's dive in. First, can you tell us a little bit about Quark Expeditions and tell us why expeditions are different than cruising?
Yeah, absolutely, Juan. Well, again, thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor to be here with such great partners as LE Travel, and I think your question is a really good one. It resonates a lot. Expeditions are very different than your traditional cruises that people might be a little bit more familiar with. In order to tell you a little bit about how expeditions are different, I'd like to tell you a little bit first about Quark Expeditions and what for nearly 30 years, Quark Expeditions has been specialized in getting people to places in the most remote and pristine parts of the world, more so than anybody else. In 1991, we were the first ones to bring travelers to in 1992, we were the first ones to bring people to the most remote emperor penguin colony in Snow Hill, home to the largest penguins on Earth. I think I might be having some issues with my audio, or okay?
Yeah, that's a little bit better, Chris.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So as I was saying, in case it didn't come through, is that Quark Expeditions is the special in getting people to the most remote and pristine parts of the world. And that's kind of a little bit of what expedition travel in general is about. It's really about embracing a sense of exploration. And more often than not, the companies that operate no two experiences are alike, and it's really about getting outside of your comfort zone. More than anything else, it's about being immersed in the destinations that you're visiting. Often these are largely uninhabited places, and they're so far off the beaten path. And in order to access them, you really need specially built ships and special built equipment to get to them. Once in the destinations, is being able to take part in a number of activities so that you get the most out of them. And of course, it's it's no secret that Quark Expeditions offers more activities in the polar regions than anybody else. But it's also about being surrounded by a specialized expertise. These are experts in the polar regions. And Quark Expeditions polar guides, on average, have over 140 polar expeditions under their belt. And here's the best thing about it. We offer more of them, one for every 7 guests than anybody else in the industry. So that means excellent access to the experts. And I like to say we have all the ologists on board: marine biologists, penguinologists, climatologists, ornithologists, you name it, Quark Expeditions has them. So they'll be giving you formal daily presentations on their specialty. Like this is Annie Ingalls, for instance. This is one of our marine biologists, and I had the pleasure of sailing with her in a place called Spitsbergen, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And there's also informal learning opportunities. Because the expedition teams are always so close at hand, you could be out on deck, spot a whale, and want to know everything there is to know about that whale. One of our experts will be right there to tell you more. And so I also mentioned about having small ships that are specially built for the polar regions. Juan, if it's okay, can I take you through some of the ships that Quark has?
Yeah, that would be great because the ships are very important for for some of these destinations.
Excellent. Yeah, the Quark Expeditions fleet strategy is a fit for every travel style, as well as every destination. We have ships that range from real working commercial icebreakers. These are some of the most powerful ships in the world, including 50 Years of Victory, the one that you see here on your screen. This is the one that we still, to this day, take to the North Pole. So you can actually visit the top of the globe in a way that nobody else can. We, of course, have the more traditional styles of ships that folks might be used to. We have the perennial favorite Ocean Venture at only 128 passengers. We have Ocean Diamond at 189 passengers. This is one of the fastest ships going to Antarctica, so you'll get there in comfort and in style. World Explorer, our all-suite, all-balcony, beautiful ship. This is one of the newest in the fleet, and we're so excited to have her because, like all of the other ships that I'm talking to you about today, she is a polar vessel, and that's what she's built to do. So we have specialized ships, and you might notice a theme. All of them are under 200 passengers. This one's 176. And we have our brand new baby girl coming next summer, Ultramarine. We are super excited for Ultramarine. She's a game-changing polar vessel. In our 30 years of experience, we've learned a lot, and this was the first time we got to design our own ship. And so we said, what will make this the ultimate polar vessel? And Ultramarine is the results of that conversation. She'll have 2 twin-engine helicopters on board that allow you to get further and faster into the destinations than ever before. Incredible public spaces and cabins, beautiful workout and fitness areas, and some of the most spacious suites on board a ship her size at only 199 passengers. But no matter how you get to the polar regions, no matter which Quark Expedition ship you choose, you will still always get many of the same features. Excellent wildlife and nature viewing from our open air decks and our plenty of viewing spaces in the public areas. Excellent food, chef-prepared meals throughout the day, canapes, hors d'oeuvres, you name it, and we can cater to just about any dietary need. If you like to stay active and stay fit, you can also take part in a number of activities off the ship, as I mentioned, but we have excellent exercise and wellness features. The image on your right is actually one of my favorites. That's the sauna on Ultramarine. So you'll have this incredible panoramic view. You do not come all the way to the polar regions just to stare at 4 walls. So we have put more open areas in these ships than ever before. And of course, you come for a sense of community. It's traveling with like-minded people who have come to experience the most amazing things on Earth, and you will travel in style with them, take part in a drink at the lounge or the bar, and listen to lots of great presentations.
I think, Chris, in terms of the vessels, it's really important to understand the vessel that you'll be traveling with, in your expedition, because they are all a little bit unique, but it seems like you have a lot of the amenities across the board. But I think you're the only guys, you've designed all of these vessels. The unique part of it and what's really important about them is that they are designed for polar adventure, correct? That's where the is of that.
Absolutely. I often say we have a bit of a Goldilocks approach to our fleet strategy. So when it comes to picking the right experience for you, we have a ship and an accommodation in every price point, in every travel style. And that's what your experts at LE Travel, the ones who have gotten to know the clients and gotten to know each other, will help kind of find that lid for the pot, that right experience. But that's why we keep our fleet so diverse. But the things that all of the ships have in common is their size. They're under 199 passengers, so they're small, they're intimate, they can get into places larger ships couldn't. and they are polar vessels. They are designed for the rigors of the polar environment.
Perfect. And I think that in being small, no two expedition is alike because of weather, a lot of different factors. So having that small vessel allows the captain and the crew to basically say, all right, well, it's a great day to do X, Y, Z. Let's do this, and let's veer a little course because we know this is a great experience right now. I think that's one of the beautiful things about those vessels.
Yeah, and you've touched on something really, really incredible as well. Let's talk a little bit about some of the places that we go and where what you've just described can really come into play. I'll start with probably one of our most popular destinations, Antarctica. Quark Expeditions is really unique in that we offer more ways and more itineraries for Antarctica than anybody. And it even comes into play with how you get to Antarctica. Traditionally, you would sail to Antarctica out of a little town called Ushuaia at the southern tip of Argentina. It takes about 2 days to cross what's known as the Passage. The Drake Passage has a bit of a reputation. You can either get what's called the Drake or the Drake Lake. Now, we do travel in the summer for the best possible weather and the longest days, but the conditions are somewhat unpredictable. But what's incredible about...
You're having a little bit of audio again, issue, Chris.
Is this better?
That's better.
Okay. So we offer a second way to get to Antarctica. That's our flight.
The microphone's off a little bit again. Sorry, bud.
Is it working better now?
Now it's there. Yep.
Okay. I'll keep it like this. Yep. So we have a Quark Expeditions very unique that we offer a second way to get to Antarctica.
Sorry, those are put off in a second. So there's two different passages. You can sail from the tip of South America, right, on the boat. And then this is the second way to get down to the itinerary.
Correct. Thank you. My mic might have cut out on that. So there's the Drake Passage. You would sail across out of Ushuaia, as you mentioned. And that takes about 2 days in each direction. So for those who may be a little bit pressed for time, or they want to get right to enjoy the wonders of Quark Expeditions is extremely unique in that we offer the second fly cruise option. So instead of sailing for 2 days across the Drake Passage, it's only a 2 to 2.5 hour flight out of once you arrive in the airstrip on King George Island, you can board your ship and you don't miss any time in the Antarctic Peninsula. The reason why you don't want to miss any time in the Antarctic Peninsula is that it will afford opportunities to do things that you cannot do anywhere else. It's stepping foot on the seventh continent, often the last visited destination. Most of our travelers have traveled to or more of the other continents. They've been on places like Alaska, to Africa. So they're always looking for the next frontier, and Antarctica is often that last frontier. It's also embracing a sense of exploration because missions are unscripted.
Hey, Chris, sorry, maybe the Microsoft might not be connected well into the computer because you kind of go in and out once in a while. So I don't know if maybe discontinuing the mic might be better. Yeah, sorry. Why don't we try again?
How's that?
That's good.
Okay, excellent. So the spirit of exploration in Antarctica is also embraced by just being able to explore. It's getting off ship. As I mentioned before, no two experiences are alike. So while we might have a rough framework for where we'd like to go and places we'd like to visit, the captain is always looking at the changing conditions and really wants to deliver the best possible experience for the guests. So it's getting you off the ship at least twice a day, doing things like seeing the glaciers and the icebergs from the water in the zodiacs. It's being surrounded by the abundant wildlife, such as penguins that are found in Antarctica. And also, you even get some special appearances every once in a while. If you look there in the red jacket, that's my colleague, Beth Mercier. And she had the humpback whale surface while she was out on the kayaks one day last January in Antarctica. So for truly off the beaten path and just incredible and unique experiences, Antarctica cannot be beat. And this is why we say that no two experiences are alike.
In terms of Antarctica, any particular age group, in general for polar expeditions, any particular age group that that you recommend? What's the perfect age group? And also, what's the length of a normal itinerary to Antarctica?
Yeah, so a couple questions there that are really good. As far as typical age range, we do, of course, have a minimum age that's 8 years old. So for families, typically it's going to be your not middle age, but your somewhat older children up into the preteens, maybe high school and college age. It's for those that, you want to bring the world alive. I think right now kids are doing a lot of virtual learning. They're learning about things on their computer screens. But to really experience nature, you have to get right out into it. So for families and multi-generational, the polar regions are absolutely incredible because you can get more out of them than just simply a vacation. We have activities that range for various age ranges, various activity levels. So I like to say from 8 to whatever, you can travel to the polar regions, and they're accessible for everybody.
Any type of like physical limitations that somebody should think about, or activity levels that you think about?
We often say that if you can get in and out of a bathtub unassisted, you can get in and out of the zodiacs, which is probably one of the most rigorous things you'll have to do.
Got it.
Because we offer a lot of optional activities, you can kind of mix and match for your activity level.
Got it. And then length of itinerary, how many days do you really need to go to, or how long is the itinerary to go to Antarctica?
So for sailing out of Ushuaia, doing that traditional sailing to the Antarctic Peninsula, it starts at about 11 days.
Okay.
And it can go all the way up to 23 days and include other places like the Galapagos of the Southern Ocean, South Georgia Island, or the Falkland Islands. For the fly cruise, for those who are pressed for time, it can be done in as little as 8 days. So it's you'll notice again that Goldilocks approach. The more options that are available, the better fit you can find for yourself.
And so, one thing that we talk about, is planning. I know, thankfully, we plan ahead of time. For an Antarctica, all of your polar expeditions, when should somebody really start thinking about, all right, I really want to go, how long should we be preparing? How long will it take them to actually, if they start planning now?
In the past, my answer probably would have been about 12 to 18 months is a good time to start looking, to start thinking. But people are shifting the way they're looking at traveling now. People are moving the bucket list trips up higher on the priority level. So to be perfectly upfront, now is the best time. Because these are small ships, because there are limited opportunities to get to these places, they're filling up very quickly. So we're experiencing quite a surge in demand as people look forward. Our Antarctica season we will start operating it again in October of 2021. And we're starting to see the ships fill up more and more. That being said, there is still some availability. You absolutely can still book for the upcoming season. Or if you'd like to have something further out to dream and to look towards, we can actually book you all the way out until March of 2023 for Antarctica.
Got it. So how is the Arctic different than Antarctica? because it sounds the same because it's cold, but they're obviously two different experiences.
That's a really interesting question. The Arctic has become one of my favorite regions to work with and to help people explore. The reason why the Arctic is a little bit different is because the wildlife and the experiences are much more fleeting in places in the Arctic, like Spitsbergen, for instance, than they are in Antarctica. In Antarctica, the penguins tend to return to the same places every year for their breeding and for their nesting. The seals, the whales, they tend to all return to similar places season after season. So what we distinguish the Arctic with, if you've ever been on a safari or you would like to do a safari, you can have a very similar experience in the Arctic. The first place I'll talk about is Spitsbergen. Spitsbergen is the largest island in an archipelago of islands collectively known as Svalbard, which belongs to Norway. It sits north of the Arctic Circle, and it's known as the realm of the polar bear. Because the sea ice conditions are so perfect throughout the year, even the summer, which is when we go there. We go in June and July. When the bears are the most active, they've kind of come out of a long winter slumber, and they're hungry. They're hunting. They are looking for seals. May is early in the season. We, of course, go there too, but we notice some of the most activity in the middle of May, right up through July for the polar bears. They are just absolutely incredible. I, for instance, will never forget the first time I saw a polar bear. Actually, this one that you see in the image, in the wild, and he was just completely unaware of our existence. And that's such a powerful thing. He's the world's largest land predator. You don't forget your first experience seeing one. Also, the walrus can be found in places in Spitsbergen. These are some of the largest pinnipeds on Earth. So they are absolutely incredible. We visit what's known as fallout, where they collect and they sun themselves swimming and fishing. The other thing that's really incredible about Spitsbergen, there's a tremendous landscape birding opportunities. There's also visits to the now defunct whaling stations. Whaling and polar bear hunting have been outlawed in Spitsbergen for quite a long period of time now, but there's still the remnants. So you can really see how these operations looked and existed. So you get a sense of history and also the wildlife and the landscapes. And speaking of incredible landscapes, one that's really creeping up on a lot of people's radar right now is Greenland. Greenland is just so incredible. It's dotted with these tiny communities. And what's really special about the way we experience our small ships is that you have plenty of chances to interact with the local communities, take in some of the most stunning landscapes. A colleague of mine describes Greenland as Lord of the Rings meets Game of Thrones. If you were to take a look at the stunning mountain spires and the incredible vistas that unfold in front of you, plenty of big icebergs, and of course, the famous Northern Lights can be seen. We travel in Greenland just about from July all the way to October. And as we get later in the season, in September, October, that's when opportunities for Northern Lights. And I mentioned before, we try to get you off the ship.
Where are the opportunities for Northern Lights that just cut off the months that you mentioned?
So for the Northern Lights, it's September and October.
Got it.
And I did mention before, we try to get you off the ship at least twice a day, but we'll think nothing of interrupting dinner because the sun is going down and the Northern Lights are starting. We will interrupt dinner and get you off the ship a third, a fourth time so that you can experience right from the water level the Northern Lights.
Got it. And again, this is what's wonderful is, we talked about Antarctica, that's a trip our winter time, and Antarctica and Greenland, and then the Arctic region in Greenland is summertime. So you can really experience these type of expeditions throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I did talk about ultramarine before as well, that our new ship with the two twin engine helicopters. What is become accessible now with those helicopters are things on our new Greenland Adventure program. These are for those who really want to push themselves, really want to experience more of the destination. Taking part in southern Greenland, the helicopters make possible things like glacier hiking. So we can actually land you at the top of a glacier, and you can hike down from there and experience it that way. You could camp for a night in southern Greenland, and we've partnered with the only Michelin star chef in Greenland. He is the camp chef, so you will forage for ingredients with him and actually prepare dinner. Really intimate and incredible. You can do things like alpine kayaking. So this is at the top of a glacial lake, very pristine. You can kayak there, or you can even mountain bike. So, Greenland offers some really incredible, diverse experiences.
If somebody, I don't know if you've been to Iceland, but sorry, this is any between Iceland and Greenland that you can think of? As somebody, they look completely different, but any similarities or differences that you might know of?
I had a little trouble hearing that. So would you mind? I heard Iceland.
Yeah, Iceland and Greenland are so close, are kind of close together. Any type of experiences that are similar or different in the islands that you might know of that you can explain to folks and who've been to Iceland, for example?
Yeah, so Iceland is primarily land-based activities. So, you explore what's known as kind of like the Ring of Fire. The Golden Circle in Iceland. With Greenland, it's a little bit different because there are the land-based activities, but then also by the small expedition ships, getting out into places with no natural light, with the atmospheric conditions are perfect for sighting the northern lights. It's the community interactions with the local Inuit and Greenlandic peoples that are very different, very reminiscent of even like in the Canadian Arctic, the Inuit there. So much smaller, closed communities that are so dependent on tourism. You will definitely not find crowds in Greenland the way you might in Iceland. And also, Iceland is absolutely incredible, but it's such a popular destination right now that if you really want to feel removed from the modern world, Greenland can absolutely deliver many of the same experiences and then goes one step further.
Got it. And so, Chris, I think maybe one last topic to hit on is, we talked that there's a lot of adventure travel in Greenland. What other kind of adventures are on a vessel or on an expedition? Maybe if we can go through some of those experiences as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the things I'm about to mention to you, the opportunities to do things off the ship, they are available in Antarctica and in the multiple places that we do visit in the Arctic. Included for everybody, no matter which ship you're on, is of course the dreaded or maybe even the long-awaited polar plunge. The polar plunge generally takes place in a place that's remote. I did mine in the Arctic Ocean. We sometimes do them in Antarctica at a place called the so you get to plunge into, in my case, 35-degree water, which was absolutely incredible and invigorating. So you really get to test who you are. You can take part in a number of hikes with those naturalists, with those expedition guides that I mentioned. Because the terrain is a little bit more rugged in the Arctic and many places in the Arctic, the hikes actually come in 5 activity levels. So to go back to who is this right for, who is this accessible for, we have everything from the Chargers group. You can go further, faster, higher, and be rewarded with some of the most stunning views. Or you could do the group that I was in, the contemplative group. These are the slower, flatter pace, but you actually get a little bit more information from the naturalist because you are not trying to reach a certain point in the time that you have. We do zodiac cruising. Zodiac cruising allows us to get from ship to shore, but also to explore the sea ice. We get right out to the sea ice. And this is the one that I mentioned that if you can get a bathtub, you can do the zodiacs. And new with ultramarine is everybody sailing aboard ultramarine will have included helicopter flight scene. These twin engine helicopters are some of the most fuel efficient and quietest in the industry, and they offer just a completely different vantage point than you might get otherwise. Now, you can also customize your trip. You can do more if you choose. You can kayak, you can stand up paddleboard, you can camp for a night. I mentioned Greenland, but we also do it in Antarctica as well. So you have plenty of opportunities to make the trip. And in the Arctic, in particular with ultramarine, the helicopters open up so much more.
Sorry, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you broke up a little bit again. Sorry. In terms of, so you can camp out, you can do some camping in some of the locations you mentioned.
Yes. In what you see pictured here is actually Antarctica. And we also do it in Greenland as well on the Greenland Adventure Program.
Talking, one silly, not one silly question. It's cold out there. I mean, it seems you basically, in terms of the things you have to take, it seems like all the outer gear you guys provide, or what are some of the things that people have to think about, taking, on an expedition to make sure that they're nice, warm, and cozy?
Great question. So when you're taking part in venture options, all of the equipment is provided: the dry suits, the sleeping bags. So you don't have to bring any of that. But no matter what you're doing, when you're on a Quark Expedition ship, you have your stylish yellow parka. That's included for every passenger, and it's yours to keep. It's actually an incredible piece of warm weather gear. It's a 2-part parka, so that you can strip it down to a shell or to an inner liner. But then we will, of course, include a comprehensive packing list that will give you all the tips, all the tricks, everything you should bring with you to have the best possible experience.
Got it.
With ultramarine in particular, there's a lot more adventure options that now become possible with the hot air, with the helicopter. I mentioned mountain biking before as one. The hot air balloon is actually something that we do at the North Pole, that icebreaker. So you can literally say, not only have you stood at the top of the world.
Hold on a second, Chris. Chris, you broke up again. Sorry. You broke up again.
Okay. Yep. That's okay. Yeah. So the hot air balloon we do at the North Pole.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Chris, we really appreciate. We really appreciate your time and really walking us through and explaining and describing, what polar expeditions are and some of the differences between, some of the locales that you guys travel in. It's an amazing experience. Everybody who comes back just raves about it. And it's definitely something to put on the bucket list. But with that said, we look forward to, working with you further in the coming weeks. There's a lot of demand, a lot of pent up demand after 2020. So I think that we'll be really busy going into the rest of the year. So anyway, we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you again soon.
Sounds good. And again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and it was such a pleasure to be here. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Chris.